Yeah, there was a page on that purchase
Oh,
agreement.
we're on.
And I realized I definitely didn't bring a copy with me, but I emailed it to you.
I'll get it done.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay.
If not, I can, I don't know, email it to you again, I guess.
I've got it.
I'm not gonna,
You know,
can't run back right now, but yeah, they wanted another signature on a page that we all missed, basically was it. So in our hurry after the meeting to get stuff signed, so that was it.
Okay.
I don't think there's a rush on it at all.
Okay. We're going to call the meeting to order, September 15th. First order of business is to wish Shireen Wagley happy birthday.
Thank
So
you.
any of our million listeners, followers that are tuning in today, if you see Shireen Wagley today, wish her a happy birthday.
We already sang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we didn't broadcast the singing, so that was,
A wise decision.
yeah, it sounded like it. Maybe it might have been. So we'll do our roll call. So I am here, clearly. Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Prabella,
Here.
Commissioner Tomlin,
Here.
Commissioner Wagley,
Here.
and Mr. Lowe is here. Thank you. All right, you all should have received the agenda by email and today, so I apologize. The email version I had actually, I think it said August on it, but it says September on the agenda, but I think the extension on the email said August. Anybody have any proposed changes or updates to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will review and approve the minutes. Ms. Tomlin?
Minutes were sent with the agenda. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes that we received. That's it, as they're written.
Second.
Just to be clear, these were the ones that were sent previous,
Yes.
before the meeting? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Pribella?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomlin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagley?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Mr. Wright, you want to review the claims with us, please?
Good morning.
Morning.
Sent out an email yesterday afternoon. Just wanted to highlight some of the claims that you might have questions on. One of them was the $650,000 to the Delaware Advancement Corporation, and that's for the Accutech expansion agreement. $35,000 to Frederick Services. That's for the Markets on Madison. That was parking lot demolition, removal of concrete, fill, dirt, and seed. And then a $25,000 claim to Robert W. Baird and Company. That was for closing and issuance cost on a 2022 bond. And also wanted to bring to light that Ted Baker came before the committee last month and for the $100,000 to the Innovation Connector. So,
Yeah, you may recall we approved that payment
Yes.
last time, so,
yes.
at the last meeting. Anybody have any questions about the claims?
Move to approve the claims as they are submitted.
Second.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Pribella?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomlin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagley?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I think we'll start with, I call it a budget. It's not really a budget. It's just kind of a snapshot of where we are at this particular moment. So as I had promised, we've got, not only do we have funds that have to be spent in the mall TIF area, we've got funds that have to be spent in other areas, as you can see, including the Central Business District, which we plan on using those for 3 years of maintenance. For downtown, which you guys already approved that first installment. So we kind of hold these funds for important needs. You show that we have now for Markets on Madison $452,279.45. That's after the $35,000 in demolition. I thought I'd just go ahead and explain as we go through some of these things what's happening there, just so that you know. So the first part was done, and that's of the parking lot. So they ripped up part of that parking lot, hauled it all away, put in some new dirt, planted and seeded as the controller said. Once that is finished, which it is now they'll work to the next section of the parking lot. And you can, if you do it in sections over time, it makes it easier with the state. It was a large parking lot, and so it was broken up by the city engineer to do that in sections. Part of that at the former Southway Plaza is we have been, and the city engineer has now completed the design and the engineering work on the parking lot. And what that will look like, it will include we're going to dig out a pond. It'll also have several sidewalks and walking areas. The owners of the facility are going to be putting in, I think, a small little playground area. I think I don't know what's going to be there. That's on them. And then also I think they're putting in a little shelter. So it will be something to where their employees, which they're beginning hiring here in October, their employees, which will be in that shopping center as well as the other businesses there, will be able to walk up to this area. There'll be a little pond. There'll be some other little features around it. But the parking lot will, in the end, will be about half the size that it has been previously. Those outlots, what we are tearing up and seeding, will eventually, they hope, they will be able to sell those to restaurants, for restaurants along the highway. So that will continue to change, but we have, the engineering is done. It is now being surveyed, so the next expense you see next year will probably, or next month, will probably be, I don't know if we would have phase 2 of the demolition work finished, but you'll definitely probably see the survey bill, maybe the demolition work on phase 2, and then we'll start the construction of the actual parking changes that we're doing. So just kind of wanted to give that update. The White River Lofts, we still have the full amount of the bond in that account. We haven't done anything. That's still in various stages. We're still trying to work everything out on that. Let's see. The McKinley neighborhood, it still has full funds. Till Pond still has full funds. Although I will say, Till Pond, and we call it Till Pond because we don't know what it's going to be named, but that park that this board, MRC, is putting in $300,000 toward, I will say that we did receive state approval of the grant, but it's a federal grant. So that was the first step. You have to get state in order to move to the federal side. And so we were happy to get that, which is now up to $500,000. So that's good news if we get it, but we'll know late this winter. And then if you move to the parks and go to that second page, it kind of breaks down. We did work on 5 different parks. From the bond for a total of some $51,000, I believe. Yeah, $51,000. So we did work on Morningside Park, Jack's Park, Heacon Park, some skate park, which was engineering work, and Tui. We did some repairs on the Tui, and now that the pool's been drained, we'll be doing more work on Tui. So we subtracted, and what you'll see, that will continue. So next month we'll put what gets paid, if anything, in the month of September. That's what we'll show on your October meeting. And as those balances work their way down, then we will have participated in helping the infrastructure and the parks of our city, which is what that bond is to do. Okay. As you drove in, you probably saw, and so you've got those figures. The next line down there that's the balance in the consolidated TIF, and then below that is what are kind of some reserves that we have back, which I haven't in the past really included, but I wanted you to know some of those funds are available. The demolition, as you drove in today, you may have noticed that there's a fence around the building next door, the 3 buildings next door, and that whole block. There's also a couple big pieces of equipment that have been tearing into the building, so that demolition work has begun on what will be a location for a phase 2, some apartments along the river ultimately. But the demolition work has begun. That'll take several weeks to complete, but that is finished. I've got the amount of the bid on there as part of the deduction. As we get into the other parking lot in the Canal District, that property has now been purchased by DAC, and so I would like your permission, and so if somebody can handle this, I would like your permission to go ahead and I think it's not going to be very expensive, so I don't need to go out and get the big quotes or full bids. But I want to get 3 quotes on demolition work of that little blue house that DAC recently purchased, and so that we can get it demolished, and then that will be where phase 3 will be. So I don't know if you want to handle that now, or if you want to do that at the end.
Do we need to approve you getting the quotes?
Yes.
Is that what you're, okay,
And yeah.
okay.
So you're no longer in talks with the homeowner about purchasing it? on
No,
behalf of
I mean,
RCUSD?
we refused. We were not going to eminent domain that property.
Right.
She was 87 years old, been there 50-some years, and I thought, we'll just wait. I told her that. Her daughters reached out to us a couple of months ago, and she was no longer to stay in home by herself, so she's in a local facility now. And DAC has since purchased that property. They asked us to buy it.
Okay.
We negotiated the price and have now purchased that last piece of that block.
Sure.
So that has closed, and the only thing we want to do is demolish it, and then we'll work on that parking lot.
Does any
So I'll make a motion that we
obtain 3?
obtain 3 bids for demo of 317 West Gilbert.
Can you call it quotes, please?
Yes,
Okay.
quotes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Probella,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagley,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay.
Now, if those quotes are over 25,000, we'll come back and we'll do a full bids. But we don't anticipate with the size of that home that'll be the issue, the situation. On the McKinley neighborhood, this is where we received the READY funds from the state of Indiana. That is progressing well, we'll call it. It's all in design and conversation stages at this point. This is something that'll be down the road. We already have the intersection under design through engineering. We've been in communications with the schools and the Y, because that's the corner that they're going to be on. As that moves forward, we'll give you further updates, but it's still in the very, very early stages. And I've shared with you what we're looking to do in that neighborhood. There's a lot of developer interest, but we want to make sure we're set up with the street and the utilities and so forth before we move forward with anything. Markets on Madison, I already talked about. Parks, we kind of went through. I can give details, but I kind of figured you didn't want to have the details on all the individual expenses, just a total. Does that work?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
appropriate, yeah.
Okay, very good. And I mentioned Tilpon is state approved. Okay, so City View 1 and 2, that should be closing. There have been a couple of, and this is one, I don't know if all of you remember, you probably do, but for the public's benefit, this is one where we're taking a lot of Muncie Redevelopment Commission lots that previous administrations and our administration had torn down the houses. They were dilapidated, primarily in 4 or 5 different neighborhoods on the south side. And we have taken those lots, worked with the developer, and the developer's going to be building single-family and or some townhomes on some of those lots. What we found is because some of those things happened years and years ago, that some of the title work was not ideal. And so there were some things that had to be cleared, off title, and so we think we have all that ready, and we should be able to get that closed in the next couple of weeks, which would then mean the construction that people will see will begin on those single-family homes. But these are all lots that we're putting back on the tax rolls, which helps us pay for our schools, helps us pay for our streets, helps us pay for our employees, police and fire. So we're real excited about that, and we then don't have to maintain them because we get bills, as you notice on your claims, we get those bills every couple of weeks to maintain those properties. And it also is providing new housing for some of our residents on the south side to live in. And so we're really excited, but it should close here in the first week of October. And that is the Miller Valentine, both the first and the second phase. Altogether, it's about 80 different properties and residential units. They're all affordable and have state participation and are required that they can't come in and build them and sell them. They have to build them and keep them 15 years. So it's a really good project. And Miller Valentine's been a good company that has done this work for years.
So they go back on the tax rolls, taxed at
They will go-
3% because they're
They'll be at 2%
because they're-
as residential
Right. Okay.
rental property.
versus 1% is owned. Okay.
Yep. And then after 15 years, their part of the agreement shows that the tenant can then get credit toward the purchase, and then it might drop to 1% if somebody ends up buying the property.
Right. Okay.
So I wanted to give that update on City View 1 and 2. That kind of handles what I have as kind of our financial side of things. If you want, we can talk about the next part, or were there any questions on any of those projects?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
So you all received a copy of the hotel feasibility study. It did indicate that there was certainly a need. I will tell you, we've got a wedding here in town, and we have some family who have come in, and some wanted to add to that. This is just a little story. Sorry to take you off on a little tangent, but some of our hotels are charging $800 a night for this weekend. The cheapest that they could find was $249 a night for this weekend. So the hotel study said, yes, there's a need, and we're excited that we're trying to bring one to the east side. So I know that there are other entities that are looking at doing hotels as well, but we certainly have a need. I had no idea that there were nights where people might be paying $800 over a weekend. I know there's a Ball State game, but apparently everything's full.
I've ran into the same problem I work from home, and my entire company is work from home. So a lot of my coworkers live out of state. And so I've had at least one come to Muncie specifically for training with me one-on-one, and her trying to get a hotel room it's like a miserable experience because there's a need. We need more hotels, and the cost is insane for our company to pay for her to come stay here versus even in Anderson or in Indy. I mean, she considered staying in Indianapolis and driving in because it would have been cheaper at one point. So we were able to find her a room, but I've been in the same boat. Yeah. Wow.
So there's clearly a need. The study doesn't indicate how many hotels, but I would think that more than one would be definitely doable. So we're looking at one. They provided 4 different locations. They picked what they felt was the best location, which you saw in your study. That would have been at the Memorial Street exit of the US 35 bypass.
When they considered those locations, did they consider the whole market, the whole town? Or
I
did
asked
they-
them only to consider the east side.
Okay.
I did not. I was preferring not to have. It's not that I said it couldn't happen, but I was preferring not to build an additional hotel on the northwest side I wanted to see what we could spark here on the east side. So they did focus on the east side. They didn't even look south, other than they didn't go south of Memorial. We'll just say that. And their study looked at a number of factors, but just determining that there was a need on the east side, and they said yes, there is. So, there's a need within the city in general as well, a big need. But they did recommend that site, so we've been in discussions. That particular spot, it's a large piece of property, currently. That could be broken up. 1/3 of that property is zoned for commercial now and has been for years. When the bypass was put in, it was assumed that there would be things at that exit, similar to what you see at the 32 exit. And so 1/3 of that property is already zoned commercial. 1/3 of it is zoned for farming, and then the northern third up by the country club is zoned for residential. So we have focused our efforts in the part that's commercial. One less step you have to take makes life a lot easier. So we've focused. We told them to focus on areas, but there wasn't a part in the paper. It is one lot now, but that could be broken up, and those are the things that are being discussed at this, during the last couple of weeks, and then next week another meeting.
Do we have some developers that are?
We do. We have a serious group, yes, that is interested, so yes. So we'll just see if we can put it all together. At this point, we don't have that done, so I hesitate to go into a whole lot of additional details. There's still a lot of pieces to put together, right. But yes, there's serious interest from one. There is other interest from others, but we're working through that. And part of it depends on the price and what pieces of the property they're willing to sell, and how that benefits. And we'd love to have and are seeking, I will admit, a restaurant as well for that intersection as well. And it's also on the other side of the intersection. We've just built some new apartments, and a restaurant has bought a building across the street, which they're in the process of demolishing, and we'll be building a new restaurant. It's a Pizza King. But there's some other development right there at that exit. So I think it helps the east and the southeast side, I believe. So as we get more, I'm happy to answer any questions. But
Is there a belief that this might give the Sportsplex a bit of a better chance of success with being able to accommodate more events?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's been a challenge not only for them but for AMA, and we're finding for the whole city as far as hotels. But yes, we do anticipate that could benefit the Sportsplex.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And the other locations are all three of the other locations are on 32. Mm-hmm. So if what we deem as the ideal location is not available, then if we can't make that work, we'll look at other locations.
But any of them would support greater success for the Sportsplex as far as being able to attract more events, tournaments, whatever you call those events out there to bring more people in. It's been my understanding that part of the challenge is that you can't accommodate big events out there because you can't accommodate people to stay.
Correct. Well, it's very similar to what we did with Gilman's. I love Menards and Lowe's, so this is not, but it is 15 minutes or more to go from the south side to get to the northwest side, which is why I didn't want more hotels over there, because it doesn't help Campac. It doesn't help all the industrial. They still have to make that long drive. And so being on the bypass is very beneficial, as the report stated, to that south side and the growing industrial and therefore the needs of that south side industrial park for stays in hotels. It's a lot easier to get to Memorial and 35 than it is to get up through town and over to where all the hotels are,
Right. Okay.
with the exception of the Marriott downtown. So as that continues to move forward, we will keep you involved. Everything's pretty preliminary right now. So any other questions on the hotel? Any updates, anybody? Okay. The next thing, Jeff, I don't know, do you want to handle this one?
Well, once you start, and I'll.
Okay.
I can.
Okay,
jump in.
so a month or two, the last meeting or the meeting before, the board authorized Jeff and I to work with the Y and see if there was a way we could purchase that building, which is their current location. And so we've had discussions with them. We know that and I have it here, the average price on the two appraisals was $578,500. We went back and forth, and we've looked at $500,000 as a price. So that's under the average of those two appraisals. Their board has now accepted that. So we would like for this board to let us then now go toward closing on that particular property. The way the reason this is important is because the location of the current Y. I mean, it is right across from Cannon Commons, which is where everything as far as entertainment activities downtown start. It's just the prime location. It's near the Marriott. It's near the convention center. It's near the Children's Museum. All kinds of eateries and entertainment options, and we intend to come up with ways to help build that southeast side of downtown, actually all the way to Madison, if we can figure out how to do it over the years. So we have that in mind. That piece, that building is a prime piece. We don't have anything in mind for the building at this point. The Y is going to continue to use it. We're looking at a lease back for $1 for a limited number of months while they're in construction. They would pay for all expenses and maintenance and utilities and their insurance costs. We simply are providing funds which go toward their capital campaign, and we would let them have a location to continue to operate because of the WISE services are very important to the downtown community.
Yeah, it's really about site control.
It is
about understanding, how potential projects coming in there will complement the work that's been done to develop the downtown, and we do that, by having the property and then being able to market to and sell to developers that are going to do things that are consistent with what we're trying to get accomplished downtown. As the mayor said, it is the term I've always used is an absolute lease. We will have no expenses to carry it. The Y will carry 100% of the expenses, capital improvements if needed, or any major repairs that are required. If it needs a major repair that's not required, it's hard to explain what that might be, but it's a Y building, so for whatever reason somebody says the pool needs to go down, they're not required to fix the pool. It's a big investment, and it wouldn't be required to fix the pool, but we will not be required to fix anything. It'll be their responsibility, and then when they complete their other building, it'll be turned over to us, and then I would guess full court press sometime between now and then, and certainly then to find the appropriate development for that building.
Mm-hmm. And that location, absolutely. So, any questions?
As far as the Y building, you foresee additional cost with that we may have to demolish it or anything, or do you think someone's we're going to sell that and someone will
Well,
do what
so
they're-
I think there are several different directions we could go. I look at it as it's reasonably solid building. I don't think the pool's going to survive whoever takes the property, because that's one of their biggest challenges. But it's a reasonably solid building but it doesn't have any windows. So we did have, Richard and I had an R&D company that was looking for a building. Richard Ivy, deputy mayor, and I met with
He's right behind you.
He's back.
There he is.
So we met with an R&D, a research and development company that was looking for something without windows, but I don't know that the time frame will work for them. But so there may be some that want the building because it doesn't have windows. But I also know now from what Accutech did on the old Sears building and what is being done next door in the condos, that breaking out, if it's foundationally good, if the building can manage it, busting out windows and putting them in is a doable and probably less expensive than building new. Yes, we might have to demolish if that's what ends up happening, but I think we would probably put out, in this particular case, we would put out a full RFP and get requests for proposals and see what people wanted. Some might want to put in apartments, some might want to put in, I'd love another IT or software company to move in. You know, there's all kinds of things, maybe even another hotel. I mean, there's all kinds of options.
Right.
We would put out there and see what developers and or businesses wanted with that particular location. And then it could also be an entertainment venue. So there are other things that can go in there. So it'll be wide open. It's possible we might have to demolish it. It's possible that might be part of what the person that takes it over has to do. But it also could be redeveloped and turned using the existing building. So we'll see. But we know it's a wonderful location and very important to our city. And so it was important to get the site control.
So was there discussion with the Y about like what their timeline is for, obviously they're going to have to stay there for some amount of time after we've already taken control of the site. What's their timeline? Because they haven't even, I mean, I don't know what their capital
I'm
campaign's
not sure
like.
at this point they're ready to publicize that, but I think they may put a press release out fairly soon that identifies a timeline that I think they're probably considering what that number of months needs to be precisely.
Yeah, and I do think they're attempting to underpromise.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I know they're, I think we can expect to see something soon on that. But it's going to take a long time to build the building.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's my I mean, site control is obviously the most important thing, but if they're going to be in that building that we have control of, I was just curious, and I know there's no answer to this, but my curiosity was their timeline. I mean, are they going to be there for a year? Are they going to be there for 5 years and just handle maintenance on a building like that? I mean, I don't think it'll be that long, I'm imagining.
I think
but,
that's probably a short and long estimate.
Sure.
Probably somewhere in between.
I figured so. Yeah. Again, I'm guessing. So
Yeah. So I think, like I said, I think they're kind of whittling that down, but somewhere in that span, probably they'll come public with that at some point. And, but I mean, I think, our desire to have the building or have the site, and be able to use it in a strategic way. And like I say, I think, as the mayor's pointed out, we're about $80,000 less than the average of the two appraisals. I mean, I think it's wise for us to do that, to make sure we have it and know what we're going to do with it. It's as Stephen said, you don't know what the possibilities are, but if you don't control it, you don't have any say-so what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
yeah.
Is there concern that someone else would get site control before us if we don't do this today? I mean, is that?
Not at this point. I mean, their board has already approved this in anticipation of this board and the hope that this board would say, yes, purchase it. So I would think that they would, if we didn't make that decision today, I would assume that they would then look at their other options. But they understand the value of their location.
Yeah.
And I had expressed that some time ago that I would, that was we felt an important location for downtown, especially since it's right next to Cannon Commons. That's a key piece for our city.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all I had.
So, Mr. Mayor, do you need a motion?
Yeah, well, I would give the dollar figure, $500,000 with a $1 lease back, and no other expenses ongoing. But I'm open to however you guys want to word it.
So I'll make a motion to acquire the current Y facility for $500,000 with a lease back of absolute lease back of $1.
Per year.
Per year,
Okay.
based on their timeline. Not to exceed.
Agreed upon timeline,
Agreed upon, yeah.
because we've talked
Mutually
about
agreed
that
upon.
with them.
Mutually agreed upon
We're not
timeline.
doing this forever.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Parbella,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagley.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I put on the agenda to review any new bids we might have on the store properties. I don't know if we have any, but I thought
We do not. I will tell you that 3 different local builders had reached out and said that once the streets are in, they intend to buy and build.
yeah, this is a little tough to do right now.
But they didn't want to tie up the capital and not even not be able to move forward.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So, no.
So no bids to review today, okay.
And then I would be open for any other questions. Okay.
If there are any.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. All right. Do we have any, I guess, Mayor, I should have asked you this. Do we have anybody from community development that has any properties that we need to deal with, or any updates? I do have an update, or a question about an update. I'm not sure if there's anybody here to provide that. With the gas station we had an offer accepted. We did some environmental stuff, and I'm just haven't heard for a while where we stand with that transaction. Sorry, I should have asked you before you sat down.
That's
That
okay.
property
This
on
is the
Madison?
property on Madison.
Correct.
We've ordered that. We had to update the Phase 1 because it was too old, and
Okay.
that should be any time.
Okay.
It should be back.
So our buyer still,
Still there and wants
Engaged.
the property.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you. All right. Okay, Mr. Howard from the Muncie Land Bank is here to give us an update on things that are happening in their world.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nate Howard from the Muncie Land Bank. Since I last meeting in August, we've acquired one property, 926 South Beacon. We have multiple properties that are being processed for eventual disposition, we hope in the next week or two. I mentioned in my first update in July that we received 8 properties from the county with structures, which is new for us. We received the deeds on August 22nd, and so we've been quickly trying to move those along in our process that we've set up so that they're going through quiet title action. We've been out to do kind of assessments of what we've got, got them boarded up, and now we're starting to have conversations with folks that have been calling, asking about those. Still refining that process, but we feel good about where we are and what we have. I mentioned last update as well that we applied for 4 grants. One of those has come through from the Community Foundation. We're really excited about that. Hopefully a couple more come through here real soon. We've been reworking our accounting system, our mowing system, our bidding systems this past month. And it's not real exciting work, but we feel like the summation of that over time will make us that much more efficient. We've been getting out in the community. We've had lots of meetings at the community level. I spoke at the Muncie Sunrise Rotary Club a couple weeks ago. Things like that, really important, encouraging for us to get to share and then have folks inquire more and more about who we are and why we exist. Last week, the Muncie Land Bank staff was in Chicago for a conference that dealt with abandoned property and vacant lots. Great space for me as a new executive director, learning about things that are going all over the country. Beginning of October, the county is going to host the tax sale. So we've been doing a lot of prep for that. Hopefully I have a more exciting update maybe next in October talking about that, but that we're investing a lot of time and energy getting prepared for that. If you have any questions or suggestions, that's all I have for this morning.
Questions? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We have any commission member comments? Hearing none. Do we have any public comments? Okay. That being the case, we stand adjourned until October 20th of 2022. Thank you all.